Ananya Sharma, a young Indian bride full of dreams, and Rajveer Al-Salim, a wealthy Dubai sheikh known for his charm and obsession with control, seemed destined for a fairy tale wedding. But one $3 million dowry and a single night would turn their story into a shocking bloodbath that stunned the world. Rajveer Al-Salim was no ordinary man. As one of Dubai's most affluent sheikhs, his life was defined by excess, influence, and power. Every detail of his world exuded wealth, from the private jets that carried him across continents to the sprawling palaces that gleamed under the desert sun. Yet, despite all his possessions, Rajveer's heart had been captivated by something, or rather someone, unseen in the glittering circles he moved in. That someone was Ananya Sharma, a young Indian woman whose story had traveled across borders like whispers in the wind. She was ambitious, intelligent, and strikingly beautiful, with an innocence that somehow drew the gaze of the world's most guarded elite. The proposal itself was unlike anything seen before. Rajveer didn't merely ask for her hand. He orchestrated a spectacle. A private rooftop overlooking the Dubai skyline served as the stage. Jewels glimmered under the soft light of lanterns, and the city's iconic towers created a breathtaking backdrop. Reporters and social media influencers caught wind of the event instantly, sharing photos and videos of Ananya adorned in a flowing gown, her hands trembling ever so slightly as Rajveer extended a diamond-studded ring. What made headlines, however, wasn't just the grandeur of the proposal, it was the staggering dowry. $3 million had been offered in exchange for her hand, an amount that stunned even the most seasoned journalists. Conversations erupted across news channels, social media platforms, and elite circles, speculating on how and why Rajveer would pay such an astronomical sum. For Ananya, the experience was a whirlwind of awe and disbelief. She had dreamed of a life beyond her small hometown in Mumbai, imagining possibilities she had never dared to voice. Suddenly, those dreams appeared tangible, wrapped in silk and gold, just within her reach. But beneath the sparkling surface of opulence and celebration, there were shadows that no one could see, secrets that would. Ananya's journey from Mumbai to Dubai was filled with hope, excitement, and a lingering sense of trepidation. Leaving behind the narrow streets of her childhood, the familiar smells of spices, and the comforting chaos of her family home, she stepped into a world she had only glimpsed in movies and magazines. Dubai dazzled her at every turn. Towering skyscrapers stretched endlessly into the sky, luxury cars lined the streets, and the malls glittered with brands she had only dreamed of. For a young woman who had worked tirelessly to carve a path for herself, it felt like stepping into a dream that was finally real. Yet, the city's glittering surface hid a harsher reality. Ananya soon realized that wealth and status were not always as straightforward as they appeared. The people she encountered were polite but distant, their smiles sometimes masking subtle agendas. Rajveer's world was filled with privilege, but also with unspoken rules and expectations that made her feel both in awe and increasingly uneasy. She tried to adjust quickly, learning the rhythm of high society dinners, gala events, and the constant scrutiny that came with being the fiancée of a prominent sheikh. Despite the overwhelming glamour, a part of her couldn't shake a sense of isolation. Friends and family remained miles away, reachable only through hurried calls or messages. She longed for the warmth of home, but pushed herself to embrace the opportunities in front of her. Every carefully arranged outing, every extravagant celebration, reminded her of the life she had left behind and the stakes of the world she had entered. Ananya's heart swelled with ambition and courage, yet deep down, a quiet voice whispered that the dazzling world of riches and romance might conceal dangers she had never imagined. Little did she know, those dangers would surface sooner than anyone expected, forever changing the course of her life. The wedding day arrived with an air of extravagance that few could ever imagine. The venue itself seemed like a palace lifted from a storybook, adorned with crystal chandeliers, cascading flowers, and golden accents that gleamed under the desert sun. Every detail had been meticulously planned. Luxury cars lined the entrance, private jets delivered distant guests, and cameras captured every angle, broadcasting the celebration to a world hungry for spectacle. For Ananya, walking down the aisle was like stepping into a dream she had never dared to imagine. She felt the weight of the moment, a mix of awe, nervousness, and excitement, as thousands of eyes seemed to watch her every move. Rajveer appeared equally composed, his tailored suit perfect, his expression calm and commanding. To the outside world, they were the ideal couple, the union of immense wealth and youthful promise. But behind the smiles and the flashing cameras, tension simmered. Rajveer's intense gaze lingered on Ananya longer than necessary, a subtle reminder of his need for control. Staff moved swiftly to ensure perfection, but even their rehearsed smiles couldn't hide the unease that occasionally flickered across the Sheikh's face. The ceremony itself was flawless, a blend of tradition and modern opulence. As vows were exchanged, Ananya's mind raced with thoughts of the life awaiting her. She imagined the adventures, the luxury, and the freedom she believed this marriage would grant her. Yet, as the celebrations moved into the evening, with extravagant feasts and endless champagne, a quiet unease began to creep into her consciousness. Something in the air felt heavier than the glittering decorations suggested, a subtle warning that beneath the beauty and splendor of the day lay shadows that no one was talking about, shadows that would soon turn the perfect wedding into a terrifying nightmare. The honeymoon suite was nothing short of breathtaking. Every corner gleamed with marble, soft lights cast a golden glow over plush furnishings, and panoramic windows offered a stunning view of Dubai's skyline at night. Ananya had imagined this moment countless times, picturing romance, laughter, and the start of a new life filled with love and luxury. Yet, as she stepped inside, a strange tension settled over her. The room was immaculate, almost unnervingly so, and the faint scent of unfamiliar chemicals lingered in the air. As she explored, Ananya noticed subtle details that seemed out of place. A small camera perched in the corner of the room, partially concealed, blinked silently. Drawers were slightly misaligned, as if hastily searched, and the soft hum of electronic devices suggested that nothing in the suite was truly private. For a fleeting moment, she felt watched, her instincts prickling with unease. The opulence that once made her heart race with excitement now carried a sharp edge, a reminder that appearances could be deceiving. Rajveer arrived later, his demeanor initially calm and affectionate, masking the undercurrent of control that simmered beneath his charm. He moved around the suite, observing Ananya in a way that made her uncomfortable, his eyes lingering too long, assessing her every reaction. What had once seemed like an enchanted evening of celebration began to feel more like a carefully constructed performance. Each gesture, each glance, seemed calculated, hinting at intentions she could not yet comprehend. Ananya tried to shake off the unease, convincing herself that she was overthinking, that the grandeur of the suite and the importance of the occasion were enough to explain the strange details. But deep down, she sensed that the night held more than romance and luxury. Something dangerous was quietly waiting, hidden behind the gold and crystal, ready to reveal itself when she least expected it. As the night deepened, Ananya's unease grew. She wandered the suite, trying to distract herself with the view of the city lights stretching endlessly into the distance. That's when her eyes caught a small, unassuming drawer tucked beneath a side cabinet. Something about it felt deliberately hidden, as if it wasn't meant to be found. Curiosity mixed with fear, she slowly opened it, and was met with a collection of documents and photographs that sent a chill down her spine. The papers detailed people from Rajveer's past, former fiancés, business associates, and acquaintances, each accompanied by notes that hinted at manipulation, betrayal, and mysterious disappearances. Some photographs were candid, taken without the subject's knowledge, capturing intimate and vulnerable moments. Among the files, there were also contracts, bank statements, and security records that suggested meticulous planning, as if Rajveer had been documenting every step in the lives of those around him. Ananya's mind raced. She had entered the suite expecting romance and safety, yet the evidence before her painted a very different picture. Rajveer's charm, the grandeur of the wedding, and the staggering dowry now seemed part of a calculated strategy rather than an act of love. The realization that she might be trapped in a meticulously controlled environment began to sink in. Every luxurious detail, the cameras, the security systems, the way the staff moved silently, suddenly felt threatening. A knot of fear tightened in her stomach. She realized she was no longer just a bride celebrating her union. She had unknowingly stepped into a dangerous web of control and obsession. The honeymoon suite, once a symbol of dreams fulfilled, had revealed itself as a trap. And yet, at that moment, she could only wonder, what else had Rajveer hidden, waiting to surface in the darkness of the night? As the hours passed, the atmosphere in the suite grew heavier. Rajveer's return from a brief outing marked a subtle shift in the night's energy. At first, he appeared composed, offering polite smiles and casual conversation, but Ananya noticed a tension lurking beneath his calm exterior. Every word he spoke carried a weight. Every gesture seemed calculated, as if he were testing her reactions, gauging her fears. Small incidents began to unsettle her further. Rajveer questioned her about trivial matters, asking repeated questions about her past, her family, and the people she had left behind in India. Though his tone remained calm, the intensity of his gaze made it impossible to ignore the underlying threat. Each glance and movement suggested that he had already noticed something he disapproved of, and the consequences of displeasing him were left unspoken but unmistakable. Ananya's attempts to maintain composure clashed with a growing sense of vulnerability. She realized that the lavish surroundings offered little protection. The suite's opulence now felt like a gilded cage. Even the staff, previously polite and attentive, seemed to observe quietly, aware of an unspoken tension that they did not dare to interrupt. As midnight approached, the luxurious wedding day she had dreamed of melted into an uneasy reality. The fine linens, the glittering chandeliers, and the stunning city view no longer felt comforting. They were witnesses to the mounting pressure closing in around her. Ananya understood, with a sinking certainty, that the danger was not an abstract fear but a very real presence, embodied in the man she had married. The night, which should have been a beginning, was turning into a test of survival, with shadows creeping closer and intentions that were anything but innocent. By the early hours of the morning, the tension in the suite had reached a breaking point. Ananya, heart pounding, tried to maintain her composure, but every step she took felt like it was being watched. The documents she had discovered earlier replayed in her mind, each photograph and note a silent warning of what Rajveer was capable of. The luxurious suite, once a symbol of dreams fulfilled, now felt like a carefully constructed trap. When Rajveer finally confronted her, there was no overt violence at first, only an intensity that made the air almost suffocating. He spoke of the hidden truths he had uncovered, carefully analyzing her reactions, as if every flicker of fear or hesitation confirmed his suspicions. The questions were relentless, probing, and unerringly precise, leaving Ananya with little room to respond without revealing the slightest vulnerability. Attempts to leave the suite proved futile. Doors were locked, security cameras recorded every movement, and even the staff moved in silent, controlled precision. Ananya realized she was not merely trapped by the physical confines of the room, but by the intricate web Rajveer had spun around her life. Each glance from him was a reminder that he had anticipated her every move. The confrontation escalated from psychological pressure to a battle of nerves. Ananya's mind raced, searching for a way to escape or reason with the man she had once admired. But every tactic she considered seemed to play directly into Rajveer's control. The opulent surroundings, the glittering chandeliers, and the soft glow of the city outside all contrasted sharply with the fear tightening in her chest. In that moment, the honeymoon suite had transformed into a high-stakes arena, where the line between life and danger became alarmingly thin, and Ananya's every decision carried the weight of survival. The tension in the suite snapped like a taut wire. What had been a battle of nerves erupted into sudden, brutal violence. Rajveer's carefully controlled demeanor shattered as he lunged at Ananya, his charm replaced by an almost feral intensity. The room, once filled with soft lights and luxurious decor, became a chaotic scene of terror. Objects toppled to the floor, glass shattered, and blood stained the polished marble as Ananya struggled desperately to evade him. Panic overtook rational thought. Ananya ducked behind furniture, her breaths ragged, trying to find even a momentary escape. Rajveer's movements were swift and precise, revealing the meticulous planning that had gone unnoticed until now. The suite, designed for comfort and grandeur, had turned into a cage of gilded walls and hidden cameras, documenting every terrifying moment. The sounds of the city outside seemed distant, muted by the violence consuming the room. Despite the chaos, there were moments of eerie calm, Rajveer pausing to study her reactions, almost as if he were analyzing her fear like another of his trophies. Every scream, every desperate movement, seemed only to heighten his control, turning the night into a horrifying display of obsession and cruelty. By the time the first light of dawn crept through the panoramic windows, the suite had been transformed. Blood marked the marble floors, shattered ornaments littered the room, and the remnants of a night meant for celebration told a chilling story. The opulence of the wedding had dissolved entirely, leaving only terror, betrayal, and a stark realization. The life Ananya had stepped into was far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined, and the man she had married was capable of horrors that went far beyond anything the world had seen. By morning, an eerie silence had settled over the suite. The once vibrant room, filled with laughter and celebration, was now a grim tableau of destruction. Bloodstains marred the marble floors, shattered glass and toppled furniture told the story of a night gone horribly wrong, and the lingering scent of chemicals added a cold, clinical edge to the scene. Outside, the city carried on as if nothing had happened, but within the suite, a chilling quiet persisted, broken only by the faint hum of electronic devices and the occasional shuffle of staff. Rajveer moved with calculated calm, a stark contrast to the chaos he had unleashed hours before. His composure unsettled everyone around him. The staff, once attentive and lively, now seemed eerily subdued, exchanging furtive glances as though silently agreeing to remain silent. They performed their duties mechanically, giving the impression that the violent events of the night were almost expected in this world of wealth and power. Rumors began to circulate almost immediately. Guests and distant acquaintances whispered about what had transpired, but fear of retaliation kept most from speaking openly. Social media speculated wildly, and journalists scrambled for information, yet clear facts were scarce. Authorities arrived discreetly, taking note of the evidence and the unusual behavior of everyone involved. The scene left investigators with more questions than answers. The meticulous setup, the tampered security footage, and the traces of struggle hinted at careful premeditation. Ananya's fate remained uncertain in the public eye, and the mystery of the wedding night gripped Dubai in a tense mix of fear and fascination. What had begun as a celebration of love had ended in horror, leaving the world to wonder how a union meant to symbolize wealth and happiness could transform so quickly into a scene of blood and terror. The investigation that followed the blood-soaked wedding night was as meticulous as it was intense. Dubai authorities, well aware of the high-profile nature of the case, approached every detail with extreme caution. Forensic teams combed through the suite, carefully collecting traces of evidence, blood spatters, fingerprints, and minute fibers that hinted at a violent struggle. Digital experts analyzed security footage, only to discover that several camera angles had been tampered with, as if someone had anticipated the investigation in advance. Questions arose about Rajveer's past. Investigators began uncovering patterns of strange incidents linked to him in other countries, failed relationships, sudden disappearances, and financial schemes that seemed to target young women. Each revelation painted a portrait of a man who was not just wealthy, but dangerously calculating. His meticulously documented history suggested that the lavish wedding and extraordinary dowry were not just acts of romance, but part of a larger plan, one that exploited trust, wealth, and ambition. Ananya's story became central to the investigation. Her sudden disappearance from the public eye, coupled with the evidence found in the honeymoon suite, made authorities suspect that she had narrowly escaped, or perhaps been deliberately hidden. Investigators examined every angle. Her family, friends, and colleagues provided fragmented accounts, revealing a young woman caught between awe and fear. As the inquiry progressed, it became clear that wealth and influence complicated justice. Lawyers and advisors moved swiftly to shield Rajveer, while forensic teams worked tirelessly to uncover the truth. Every lead seemed to reveal deeper layers of deception, leaving investigators with a stark realization. The wedding night had been more than a violent incident. It was the culmination of years of planning, obsession, and control, leaving the authorities to navigate a dangerous web where money, power, and tea. As investigators dug deeper, shocking secrets about Rajveer's life began to surface, painting a far darker picture than anyone had imagined. The documents Ananya had discovered in the honeymoon suite were only the tip of the iceberg. Hidden contracts, financial statements, and personal files revealed a deliberate pattern. Rajveer had systematically targeted women with significant dowries, using charm, wealth, and influence to lure them into carefully orchestrated situations. Each engagement, each marriage, appeared to follow a blueprint, with luxurious ceremonies masking control, manipulation, and in some cases, violence. Former acquaintances, reluctant to speak at first, gradually shared stories of women who had vanished or suffered mysteriously after becoming close to him. It became evident that the $3 million dowry was not an act of love, but part of a calculated scheme, an investment in power and leverage. Rajveer's obsession with documenting every detail of the women in his life, from personal habits to social connections, revealed a chilling level of premeditation. Ananya's role in this revelation was central. Though she had been unaware, her discovery of the hidden files had given authorities a critical window into Rajveer's psyche and methods. The investigation now portrayed her not only as a victim, but as a key witness whose observations could unravel the extent of his manipulations. The world began to understand the terrifying reality. Behind the glittering weddings, the extravagant gifts, and the public smiles, there was a calculated predator. Rajveer's wealth and status had allowed him to hide in plain sight, turning the pursuit of love into a dangerous game of control. The story that began with a dazzling wedding had revealed a sinister pattern of obsession and exploitation, leaving the authorities to confront a truth far more disturbing than anyone had anticipated. The story's conclusion left a chilling sense of ambiguity, one that would haunt Dubai and the wider world for years. Rajveer faced public scrutiny, legal action, and intense media attention, but his immense wealth and influence complicated the pursuit of justice. While some charges were filed, and investigators worked tirelessly to piece together the events of the wedding night, many questioned whether the full truth would ever emerge. Rumors swirled about hidden settlements, discreet deals, and quiet intimidation of witnesses, suggesting that power could shield even the most damning crimes. For Ananya, the aftermath was both liberating and devastating. She had survived a night that could have ended in tragedy, but the scars, both visible and invisible, were a permanent reminder of the danger she had narrowly escaped. Friends and family tried to offer comfort, yet the psychological weight of the betrayal, the violence, and the realization of how meticulously she had been manipulated lingered heavily. Every luxurious palace, every glittering celebration, now carried the shadow of what had occurred behind closed doors. The world outside continued to marvel at wealth and opulence, often unaware of the hidden dangers lurking beneath. Dubai's skyline remained as dazzling as ever, a symbol of ambition and grandeur, but the story of the $3 million dowry and the blood-soaked wedding suite served as a stark reminder. Appearances can deceive, and the pursuit of status and luxury can mask horrors unimaginable. Ultimately, the tale ended without complete closure. Some believed justice had been served. Others whispered that the rich and powerful had found ways to evade accountability. The extravagant wedding that had begun as a fairy tale had transformed into a chilling cautionary tale, a testament to obsession, manipulation, and the dark side of desire. The world watched, fascinated and horrified, as a single night's events revealed how quickly love and wealth could spiral.